Imagine a future where your electric car never needs to plug in. Sounds like science fiction, right? But what if I told you that this idea isn't as futuristic as it sounds, because the seeds of it were planted more than 100 years ago? And the man behind it wasn't Elon Musk, but Nikola Tesla himself. Yes, the same genius who gave us alternating current, radio waves, and wireless power may have secretly predicted self-recharging electric cars. And what's even more mind-blowing, some of his forgotten patents might actually hold the key to making them a reality today. So, let's take a deep dive into the mystery of Nikola Tesla's theories and see how they connect to the electric cars of our future. Back in the early 1900s, the world was just discovering electricity. Horses still ruled the streets, steam engines powered factories, and gasoline was just starting to fuel the first automobiles. But Nikola Tesla, as always, was thinking decades ahead. While others were focused on getting cars to move, Tesla was imagining how they could move forever. He believed energy was all around us, in the air, in the earth, and even in the empty space between atoms. To him, power wasn't something that needed to be stored in batteries or burned in engines. It could be drawn directly from the environment, cleanly, endlessly, and wirelessly. That was the foundation of Tesla's boldest idea, the concept of wireless energy transmission. He envisioned a world where you could power anything, anywhere, without ever plugging in. Lights, machines, homes, and yes, even vehicles, could all run on the invisible flow of energy around us. And the crazy part? He actually tried to build it. In 1901, Tesla started construction on the Wardenclyffe Tower in New York. It wasn't just a radio tower, it was supposed to be a global power station. Tesla's plan was to transmit electrical energy through the atmosphere and the ground simultaneously, using the Earth itself as a conductor. He believed that by tuning into the natural frequencies of the planet, he could send limitless power wirelessly across vast distances. No cables, no fuel, no pollution. Just pure, clean energy traveling through the air. Now imagine what that means for an electric car. A vehicle that never has to recharge because it's constantly receiving power from the atmosphere. That's the dream Tesla was chasing, even if he didn't use the term self-recharging EV. But to the industrial world of the early 20th century, this idea was terrifying. Because it threatened everything. If Tesla succeeded, there'd be no need for oil, coal, or even electric grids as we know them. And companies that made billions from selling fuel would lose their control overnight. So, when Tesla approached financier J.P. Morgan to fund his wireless power system, things took a dark turn. Morgan had initially supported Tesla, thinking the tower would be used for wireless communication. But when he realized Tesla wanted to transmit free energy to everyone on Earth, he famously asked, "If anyone can draw on the power, where do we put the meter?" And just like that, the funding stopped. The Wardenclyffe Tower was never completed. Tesla's dream of a wireless world faded into obscurity, and his notes and experiments were largely buried. But the question remained, did he leave behind the secrets to a technology that could make electric cars self-recharging today? Let's fast forward to our time. We live in an age of lithium batteries, fast chargers, and electric highways. Tesla Motors, the company named in his honor, has revolutionized transportation. But even now, range anxiety and charging infrastructure are still major problems. We've built faster cars, but we're still chained to the plug. And that's where Nikola Tesla's old ideas suddenly start sounding new again. Because what if those same principles he experimented with over a century ago could finally be realized using modern technology? Researchers today are exploring something called wireless energy transfer, a concept directly descended from Tesla's original experiments. We already use small-scale versions of it, like wireless phone chargers or electric toothbrushes that recharge without cables. But what if that concept could be scaled up to power vehicles? Scientists have been testing wireless charging roads, where coils buried under the pavement transfer energy to cars as they drive. In South Korea and Italy, pilot projects have already demonstrated moving electric buses that charge wirelessly while on the road. In other words, energy that flows through space, just like Tesla imagined. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Tesla didn't just theorize about transmitting power, he also experimented with receiving it. He built devices that could harvest ambient electromagnetic energy from the environment. He believed the Earth was literally a giant battery, pulsing with natural electrical potential. And according to some of his lost papers, he may have built a prototype that could power small motors using nothing but the surrounding air. Decades later, this concept reappeared in fringe research circles as radiant energy harvesting. Today, it's being rediscovered under more scientific names like wireless energy harvesting or ambient energy capture. Modern engineers are experimenting with ways to pull small amounts of power from Wi-Fi, radio, and atmospheric waves. Right now, the power levels are tiny enough to charge sensors or small electronics, but the principles are strikingly similar to what Tesla described. Imagine if that technology advanced enough to charge car batteries slowly, constantly, wherever you go. Your EV could top itself off throughout the day, not just at charging stations. It wouldn't be perpetual motion, but it would feel like it. And that's the key difference. Tesla never claimed he could violate the laws of physics. He wasn't talking about magic or infinite motion. He was talking about accessing existing energy in smarter ways. In his own words, throughout space there is energy. Is this energy static or kinetic? If static, our hopes are in vain. If kinetic, and this we know it is, then it is a mere question of time when men will succeed in attaching their machinery to the very wheelwork of nature. Those lines sound like poetry, but they're actually one of the most prophetic visions of the energy future ever written. Tesla believed we could attach our machinery, meaning cars, homes, even cities, to the energy that's already flowing through the universe. Now think about solar panels, inductive roads, and atmospheric energy capture. We're literally doing what he imagined. The self-recharging car isn't just a dream. It's a slow evolution toward the wireless, seamless energy system Tesla tried to create. Of course, skeptics will say this is romanticizing history. They argue that Tesla's wireless power experiments weren't practical on a global scale. And they're partly right. His equipment was ahead of its time, but limited by the materials and understanding of his era. Still, every time a breakthrough happens in modern wireless charging or energy transmission, scientists mention Tesla's name. Because he saw the blueprint before anyone else. Even today, engineers working on long-range wireless power cite Tesla's experiments as their foundation. It's almost as if the world is catching up to his vision, a century later. But there's another layer to this story. After Tesla's death in 1943, the US government seized his research papers. Officially, it was for national security reasons, to ensure no sensitive electrical or radio technologies fell into the wrong hands during World War II. But to this day, not all of those documents have been publicly released. Conspiracy theorists claim those hidden papers contain advanced concepts that could power devices without conventional fuel, perhaps even self-recharging vehicles. While that sounds far-fetched, it's undeniable that many of Tesla's inventions were rediscovered decades later in technologies we now take for granted: radar, remote control, and wireless communication. So it's not impossible that some of his other ideas were simply ahead of their time. If Tesla were alive today, he'd probably be fascinated by electric vehicles. He'd see them as a necessary step toward energy independence, but he'd also see their limitations. He'd ask why we still rely on centralized grids and massive batteries when energy is literally all around us. And he'd probably start building something in his lab to fix it. Because that's what Tesla always did. He looked at the invisible and asked how to make it visible. He looked at what others called impossible and made it work. And now, more than 100 years later, his ideas are guiding the biggest transformation in transportation history. When you plug in your EV, you're already living in Tesla's world. But when you drive a car that charges itself wirelessly, endlessly, and cleanly, that's when you'll truly be driving in his dream. But before we talk about the future, let's rewind for a moment and really understand how Tesla thought. Most inventors look for ways to improve what already exists. Tesla, on the other hand, asked why things needed to exist in that form at all. He didn't see energy as something that needed to be generated, he saw it as something that needed to be accessed. He used to say that the entire universe is filled with energy, waiting for us to tap into it. To him, power was not a commodity, it was a natural phenomenon, like gravity or light. And that belief guided almost every invention he ever created. Now imagine Tesla sitting in his lab in 1899, surrounded by sparks from massive coils that filled the air with blue lightning. He was performing one of the first large-scale wireless power experiments in history. He called it the magnifying transmitter. It could send electricity wirelessly through the air, lighting bulbs dozens of feet away, with no wires. Witnesses said the entire laboratory glowed like a thunderstorm. What Tesla demonstrated that day was more than just a trick. It was proof that power could move freely through space. He believed that by scaling up the same principle, entire cities, and even vehicles, could be powered remotely. He imagined towers placed around the world, creating a global grid of wireless energy. Wherever you were, your devices would draw power from the atmosphere effortlessly. If that sounds like Wi-Fi for electricity, that's exactly what he envisioned. 100 years before anyone dreamed of it. Tesla even predicted something eerily similar to modern smartphones and the internet. He said that one day, people would carry a small device in their pockets that could connect to information, music, and communication instantly. He predicted the cloud. He predicted wireless networks. And maybe, just maybe, he predicted the idea of a self-recharging machine. In 1931, Tesla reportedly worked with an engineer named Peter Savo on a mysterious project. According to Savo's later account, Tesla had modified a Pierce Arrow car, an early luxury vehicle, and replaced its gasoline engine with an electric motor. The story goes that Tesla inserted a small box into the car containing vacuum tubes, wires, and a metal antenna. When he turned it on, the motor started, silently. The car supposedly ran for miles at high speed without any visible power source. When asked where the energy came from, Tesla simply replied, "From the ether around us." To this day, no one knows exactly what that device was. Some dismissed the story as myth. Others believe it was an early prototype for wireless energy reception, a self-charging vehicle decades ahead of its time. If the story is even partially true, it means Tesla may have actually built a working proof of concept for a self-powered car. And that makes this mystery even deeper. But let's connect this idea to science we understand today. The ether Tesla referred to was his term for what we now call electromagnetic fields. He believed that the universe was filled with waves of energy vibrating at different frequencies. And if you could tune into the right frequency, you could extract usable power from it, just like a radio picks up a signal. Fast forward to modern physics, and we now know the vacuum of space is not truly empty. It's full of background radiation, electromagnetic waves, and even quantum energy. We call it zero-point energy, the lowest possible energy state of matter. While we can't yet harness that energy efficiently, the theory matches Tesla's belief that power exists everywhere around us. So in a sense, he wasn't wrong. He was just too early. Today, companies and researchers are once again exploring wireless power on a grand scale. There are startups developing drones that beam energy using microwaves. There are satellites designed to collect solar energy in space and transmit it to Earth via focused beams. And there are experimental projects testing continuous wireless charging zones for electric vehicles. All of them echo Tesla's vision. A world where energy is ambient, constant, and invisible, flowing through the air like oxygen. Imagine driving down a highway where invisible power fields charge your car as you move. Your dashboard never shows low battery. You don't stop at stations because charging happens everywhere. That's not science fiction anymore. It's something engineers are actively working on. And if they succeed, the credit will quietly circle back to the man who dreamed it first, Nikola Tesla. Let's think about how such a car could actually work. Modern electric vehicles rely on lithium-ion batteries, which store chemical energy. That's efficient but limited. Eventually the charge runs out. To keep a car self-recharging, you'd need two things: a source of continuous ambient energy and a system that can convert it into electricity on the go. Tesla already imagined both. His wireless energy towers were the transmitter, and his resonant receivers, devices tuned to specific frequencies, were the converters. He called it resonance energy transfer. That same principle is used today in wireless chargers. When two coils resonate at the same frequency, energy transfers between them efficiently without wires. Now picture that scaled up. Roadside transmitters or even atmospheric antennas could constantly send energy signals. Cars would have resonant receivers built into their frames, automatically pulling in the charge. The result? A self-recharging EV that never stops moving. Of course, that level of technology still faces big challenges. Power loss over distance, safety regulations, and massive infrastructure needs are real obstacles. But conceptually, it's exactly what Tesla proposed. We've proven the science. Now we're working on the engineering. And that's the beauty of Tesla's ideas. They continue to guide innovation a century later. But here's where the story gets philosophical. Why was Tesla so obsessed with free energy? He wasn't chasing profit or fame. He genuinely believed that energy independence would free humanity from greed, poverty, and conflict. He saw energy as the key to equality. If everyone could access it freely, no one could control others through scarcity. That's why his ideas were so dangerous to the powerful. Because whoever controls energy controls the world. Tesla wanted to give that control back to the people. It's no wonder his greatest projects were shut down and his research mysteriously disappeared. To some, he was a genius. To others, a threat. But time has a way of bringing truth back to light. Today, as we struggle with climate change, fossil fuel dependence, and rising energy demands, Tesla's vision seems less like fantasy and more like destiny. We're finally realizing that sustainability means more than switching fuels. It means rethinking how energy flows altogether. And Tesla already showed us the way. He once said, "Let the future tell the truth, and evaluate each one according to his work and accomplishments." The present is theirs. The future, for which I really worked, is mine. That future might be unfolding right now. Because every step we take toward wireless charging, solar power, and atmospheric energy brings us closer to his dream. Now think about this. We already have vehicles that charge themselves partially. Some concept EVs use solar panels built into their roofs. They can recover energy through regenerative braking. They even harvest small amounts of energy from heat and vibration. Combine all those with wireless power transfer, and we're only a few breakthroughs away from a car that sustains itself indefinitely. It won't be magic, it'll be physics finally catching up with vision. And that's what makes Tesla's legacy so unique. He didn't just invent machines. He invented the ideas that drive machines. Ideas that took humanity more than a century to understand. If he could see our world now, drones flying, smartphones connecting across continents, cars driving silently on electric power, he'd probably smile and say, "I told you so." But he'd also ask us to go further. To look at what we call impossible and find the frequency that makes it possible. That's how Tesla thought. That's how he lived. And that's how he still inspires inventors and dreamers today. If you look around at today's technology, you can see Tesla's fingerprints everywhere. Wireless charging pads. Inductive roads being tested in Europe. Electric cars that update their software through the air. Energy being beamed from satellites in orbit. These are not random coincidences. They are modern engineers walking the path Tesla cleared a century ago. And it's not just small startups chasing this dream anymore. Major automotive giants and research labs are investing millions into continuous wireless power systems. Companies like Toyota, BMW, and Hyundai are testing dynamic charging, where a car recharges as it drives over specific lanes. NASA is experimenting with microwave power transmission to supply energy to drones and lunar rovers. Even Tesla Motors, the company named after Nikola Tesla, is rumored to be exploring wireless charging concepts for future models. Every one of these developments is a piece of the same puzzle, the puzzle Tesla started assembling long ago. He once said, "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence." He knew that true innovation begins when we dare to question the limits of what we see. And that's exactly what self-recharging electric vehicles represent. They're not just an upgrade, they're a revolution in how we think about power itself. Because imagine this future for a moment. You buy a car, and that's it. You never worry about gas prices, charging cables, or battery degradation. Your car simply works, powered invisibly by the same planet you live on. The air itself becomes your power station. It's elegant, efficient, and limitless. That's not just a dream for environmentalists. That's a technological milestone for humanity. A point where we finally break free from our dependency on extractive energy systems. It's freedom in motion, literally. And when it happens, when the first self-recharging EV hits the road, history will point back to one man. Nikola Tesla. The same man who, in the late 1800s, stood in a room filled with lightning and declared that energy was free for all who could harness it. The same man who refused to patent systems that could have made him a billionaire, because he believed knowledge should serve humanity, not profit. The same man who died penniless but left behind the blueprints for the modern age. You can't talk about wireless power or renewable energy without mentioning him. Because even when he was ignored, he kept inventing for the future he saw in his mind. And that future is slowly unfolding, one innovation at a time. Every step forward in battery efficiency, energy harvesting, and wireless transmission is another echo of his genius. But what would Tesla think of our world today? He'd probably be amazed by our smartphones, satellites, and electric vehicles. But he might also be disappointed that we're still plugging in. That we still generate power from sources that harm the planet. That we still measure energy in dollars instead of possibility. He'd remind us that energy isn't meant to be owned, it's meant to be shared. He'd tell us that every wire we remove brings us closer to real progress. Because to him, the future was always wireless, seamless, and sustainable. Now here's something fascinating. Some researchers are exploring atmospheric energy capture systems inspired directly by Tesla's theories. They use high-altitude antennas to absorb static electricity from storms and upper atmosphere ionization. In theory, they could collect enough power to recharge small electric vehicles without any plug at all. It's still experimental, but it shows how relevant Tesla's thinking remains. He once demonstrated that even a single wire connected to the ground could light up bulbs miles away, simply by resonating with Earth's electric field. If that principle can be adapted with today's materials and computational tools, it could unlock a new era of energy independence. The kind Tesla envisioned before anyone else dared. And maybe that's why people still call him a prophet of the modern world. Not because he predicted specific gadgets, but because he predicted the spirit of innovation that drives them. He didn't just invent electricity, he invented possibility. And that's why his legacy continues to grow stronger every year. Every young inventor who dreams of limitless energy is following his spark. Every researcher working on clean power is expanding his mission. And every EV that hums quietly down the road is a tribute to his vision of a world powered by invisible forces. We are living in the age Tesla imagined. And the best part? We're still just getting started. The technology we have today, wireless charging, solar energy, smart grids, is only scratching the surface. Once AI-driven energy management, quantum storage, and long-distance transmission become mainstream, the barriers to self-recharging vehicles will collapse. And then humanity will finally step into the world Tesla described, a world where power flows naturally, continuously, and freely. No pollution, no scarcity, just balance. Tesla saw that future long before we did. He once said, "When wireless is perfectly applied, the whole Earth will be converted into a huge brain," which in fact it is, and the instruments through which we shall be able to do this will be amazingly simple compared with our present telephone. That statement doesn't just sound like a prediction of the internet. It sounds like a description of the energy network we're building today. A global web of connectivity, communication, and power. Cars will talk to roads. Roads will talk to grids. And energy will flow through that web as naturally as thoughts flow through a brain. That's not just evolution. That's the realization of Tesla's dream. And maybe that's the ultimate irony. The man who was forgotten by history for decades is now powering its next chapter. Every step we take toward clean energy is a step in his direction. Every new EV that runs silently through the night carries a piece of his soul, a whisper from the past saying, Keep going. So, did Nikola Tesla secretly predict self-charging electric cars? Maybe not in the literal way we imagine today. But in principle, absolutely yes. He saw the idea before the world could even understand it. He laid the intellectual foundation for a future where machines sustain themselves. He gave us the courage to dream of energy without limits. And he left behind clues that modern science is only now beginning to decode. Tesla wasn't just predicting technology. He was predicting humanity's awakening, our realization that energy isn't something we conquer, but something we coexist with. And in that sense, the truth about self-recharging electric cars isn't just about vehicles. It's about vision. It's about rediscovering what one man saw when he looked at the night sky and imagined the invisible currents that connect us all. Because the moment we truly understand that vision, that's the moment Tesla's dream comes alive. A world where power flows freely, where innovation serves everyone, and where the car you drive tomorrow might just be running on the same idea that sparked in a lonely lab over 100 years ago. The mind of Nikola Tesla.